There is a time in life when you must make a decision about who has access to your presence. Some people ignore you not because you are insignificant, but because they do not recognize your value. And if a person does not see your worth, it is not your job to convince them. Hear me well. Never beg for attention, never chase after people who do not see you, and never fight for a place in someone's life where you are merely tolerated. The greatest mistake you can make is trying to force someone to appreciate what they do not even recognize. One of the greatest mistakes you can make is chasing after those who ignore you, hoping they will finally see your worth. But hear me today. Never beg for attention and never pursue those who make you feel invisible, because the moment you do, you surrender your dignity. And dignity is too expensive to lose. People recognize what they want to recognize. They value what they choose to value. And if someone ignores you, if they overlook your presence, if they fail to acknowledge your worth, it is not because you are not valuable, it is because they have chosen not to see it. And when a person chooses not to see something, no amount of convincing will change their vision. The greatest mistake you can make is adjusting your value based on how others treat you. You were not created to be an option. You are not designed to be tolerated. You were designed by God with purpose, with destiny, with something significant inside of you. And if a person does not acknowledge it, that is their loss, not yours. Too many people live in frustration because they are waiting for validation from the wrong crowd. They are exhausting themselves, trying to be seen, trying to be accepted, trying to be loved by those who have already decided to ignore them. But let me tell you something. Your value is not determined by their attention. Your worth is not defined by their approval. The fact that they do not see you does not mean you are not valuable. It simply means they are not the right ones for you. Do not allow yourself to shrink just to fit into spaces that do not honor you. Do not compromise who you are just to be noticed by those who do not care. A diamond does not beg to be recognized as valuable. Gold does not plead for appreciation. Their value remains whether people acknowledge it or not. And so it is with you. Some people ignore you because they do not respect what you carry. Others ignore you because they take you for granted. And then there are those who ignore you because they believe you will always be there, waiting for their attention. But today you must decide that you will no longer be available to those who treat you as an afterthought. Your presence is a privilege. And if they cannot appreciate it, do not beg them to stay. Let them go. There is power in knowing your worth. When you know your value, you stop begging for spaces that do not recognize you. You stop forcing conversations where you are not heard. You stop pursuing people who have already decided to ignore you. Instead, you position yourself where you are celebrated, not merely tolerated. This year, do not chase those who ignore you. If they do not respond, if they do not acknowledge your presence, if they make you feel unseen, do not react. Just cut them off silently, because the moment you stop chasing is the moment you take back your power. The moment you stop begging is the moment you reclaim your dignity. The right people will recognize your worth without you having to prove it. So walk with confidence, live with purpose, and never again reduce yourself for those who refuse to see you. Let your presence be a privilege, not an option. And if they ignore you, let them. But as for you, keep moving forward. Silence is one of the most powerful responses you can give in life. When someone ignores you, disrespects you, or fails to see your worth, the natural reaction is to confront them, to demand answers, to make them see what they refuse to acknowledge. But hear me today. Do not waste your energy on people who have already decided to disregard you. Do not react to their ignorance, their neglect, or their indifference. Instead, cut them off silently. You see, silence is not weakness. Silence is wisdom. When you stop responding, you stop feeding the situation, and whatever you stop feeding will starve and die. Some people only have power over you because you keep reacting. Some relationships only survive because you keep engaging. Some people continue to mistreat you because they know you will always respond. But the moment you withdraw your energy, the moment you refuse to engage, the moment you choose silence over reaction, you take back your power. Many people believe that silence means losing. They think that if they do not respond, they are allowing the other person to win. But the truth is, silence is a strategy. It forces people to face their own actions without your interference. It places them in a position where they must deal with the consequences of their choices. And more often than not, your silence will speak louder than any words ever could. When you choose to cut someone off silently, you are making a statement without ever having to say a word. You are showing them that your time is valuable, that your energy is precious, and that you refuse to invest in those who do not appreciate you. You are demonstrating strength, control, and self-respect. Because real power is not in how loud you speak, but in how well you control your response. Some people will test you just to see how much you will tolerate. They will ignore you to see if you will chase them. They will disrespect you to see if you will react. But when you remain silent, when you walk away without a word, you confuse them. They expect a fight. They expect a reaction. They expect you to prove yourself, but instead, you choose peace. And peace is something they cannot control. Silence also protects your dignity. When you argue, when you plead, when you try to make someone see your worth, you lower yourself to their level. But when you remain silent, you rise above the situation. You refuse to be dragged into unnecessary drama. You refuse to give them the satisfaction of knowing they got to you. You maintain your self-respect. And nothing is more powerful than a person who walks away with their dignity intact. There is a time to speak, but there is also a time to be silent. And this year, you must learn to master both. You must learn to recognize when words are necessary and when silence is the best response. Because not every battle is worth fighting. Not every insult is worth addressing. And not every person is worth your energy. This year, protect your peace. Refuse to engage in meaningless conversations. Refuse to explain yourself to those who have already made up their minds. Refuse to waste your words on people who have chosen to ignore you. Instead, walk away with grace, with confidence, and with your dignity intact. The right people will hear your silence louder than your words. The right people will recognize your absence before they ever acknowledge your presence. And the right people will understand your value without you having to prove it. So be wise, be strong, and most importantly, be silent where your words are not honored, because in your silence, you will find your greatest strength. Life operates on a simple principle. Whatever you feed will grow, and whatever you starve will die. If you keep feeding negativity, it will consume your peace. If you keep feeding toxic relationships, they will drain your energy. If you keep feeding those who ignore you, they will continue to take you for granted. But the moment you stop giving them attention, the moment you withdraw your energy, the moment you refuse to respond, things begin to change. Some situations only exist because you keep engaging. Some people only have access to you because you allow them to. Some burdens only remain heavy because you refuse to put them down. But this year, you must learn the power of starving what does not serve you. You must learn to cut off the things that drain your joy, your peace, and your purpose. Because whatever you stop feeding will eventually starve and die. People often wonder why certain toxic cycles repeat in their lives. They ask, why do they keep treating me this way? Why do they keep ignoring me? Why do they keep coming back when I know they don't truly care? The answer is simple. You keep giving them something to feed on. Every time you respond, every time you argue, every time you chase, you are keeping the cycle alive. But the moment you decide to stop, the moment you cut off the source, the cycle must come to an end. Do not keep watering dead plants. Do not keep investing in people who show you through their actions that they do not value you. Do not keep fueling relationships that only survive because of your effort. When you recognize that something is not serving your life, your growth, or your peace, it is your responsibility to stop feeding it. Because if you do not, it will continue to drain you. There are people in your life who only stay because they know you will always respond. They ignore you, they neglect you, they treat you as an afterthought, and yet they expect you to be there when they decide to return. But today, you must make a decision. You must decide that you will no longer entertain people who do not reciprocate your energy. You must decide that you will no longer pour into empty cups. You must decide that you will stop feeding relationships that do not feed you in return. The moment you stop responding, something powerful happens. The things that once controlled you begin to lose power. The people who once manipulated you begin to feel your absence. The situations that once drained you begin to fade away, because whatever you stop feeding will starve. And when it starves, it dies. This year, be intentional about where you invest your energy. If it does not bring you peace, starve it. If it does not value you, starve it. If it does not align with your purpose, starve it. You owe it to yourself to protect your space, your mind, and your heart. You cannot control how others treat you, but you can control what you allow. You cannot force people to appreciate you, but you can decide not to entertain those who don't. You cannot change how others see you, but you can remove yourself from places where you are not seen. Some things will only leave your life when you stop giving them your energy. And when they do, you will realize that you never needed them in the first place. The peace you have been searching for is on the other side of letting go. The strength you desire is in learning to walk away. The clarity you need comes when you stop holding on to things that no longer serve you. So choose wisely this year. Choose what you feed and choose what you starve. Because in the end, whatever you stop feeding will no longer have power over you. One of the greatest mistakes you can make in life is trying to prove your worth to those who have already decided to overlook it. The moment you start explaining yourself, defending your value, or begging for recognition, you are handing over your power. But hear me today. Your worth is not up for debate. You do not need to convince anyone of what God has already placed inside of you. The right people will see it without explanation. Too many people waste their energy trying to be noticed, trying to be accepted, trying to be loved by those who have already made up their minds. But listen carefully. Your value does not decrease just because someone refuses to acknowledge it. A diamond does not lose its worth because someone walks past it. Gold does not become less valuable just because someone does not appreciate it. And in the same way, your worth remains, whether they recognize it or not. When a person truly values you, they do not need endless reminders. They do not need to be convinced to respect you. They do not need to be persuaded to appreciate your presence. The right people will honor you naturally. Not because you force them to, but because they recognize who you are. And if someone does not see your value, it is not your job to prove it. It is your job to walk away. Never allow someone's lack of acknowledgement to make you question your significance. Some people will ignore you not because you are unworthy, but because they are blind to what you carry. Some will take you for granted because they assume you will always be there, and some will only realize your value once you remove yourself from their life. But do not wait for absence to teach them what presence could not. Know your worth now and refuse to lower yourself for anyone who refuses to see it. Your time is too valuable to spend proving yourself to those who refuse to see you. Your energy is too precious to waste on those who do not appreciate it. Your presence is a gift, and if they do not recognize it, then remove yourself with grace. Do not argue, do not explain, do not fight for a space that does not honor you. Just walk away with dignity. There is a peace that comes when you stop forcing things. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop proving. Suddenly, the weight lifts. You no longer feel the need to be understood by those who do not care to understand. You no longer feel pressure to earn love that should have been freely given. You no longer wait for recognition from people who are never meant to be part of your journey. You must realize that your value does not come from the opinions of others. It comes from God, from the purpose inside of you, from the greatness you were created for. And once you accept that, you will stop seeking approval from places that were never meant to affirm you. This year, refuse to waste another moment proving your worth. Refuse to argue for a place in someone's life. Refuse to convince anyone to respect or appreciate you. Instead, focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Focus on those who see you, who value you, who celebrate you without needing a reason. Because the right people will recognize your worth without your having to prove it. And when you finally stop trying to convince the wrong ones, you will make room for the right ones to come into your life. So stand firm, be confident, and never again waste your time explaining your value. Those who are meant for you will see it without you having to say a word. There comes a point in life when you must make a decision, not just about where you are going, but about what you are no longer willing to carry. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it is necessary. Walking away from what drains you is not weakness, it is wisdom. And choosing to let go of what no longer serves you is not quitting, it is growth. Too many people live in frustration, anxiety, and exhaustion because they are holding on to relationships, situations, and environments that rob them of their peace. They tolerate disrespect, endure neglect, and settle for less than they deserve, all because they are afraid to walk away. But hear me today. Anything that costs you your peace is too expensive to keep. You cannot live a life of purpose while entertaining distractions. You cannot embrace your future while holding on to burdens from the past. And you cannot step into what God has for you while remaining in spaces that devalue you. There comes a moment when you must make a choice. Either protect your peace or continue to allow unnecessary chaos in your life. But you cannot have both. Some people will only respect you when they no longer have access to you. Some will only appreciate you when you remove yourself from their presence, and some will only understand your value when your silence replaces your words. But you must not wait for people to change in order to protect your peace. You must decide right now that your well-being matters too much to be compromised. It is not your job to fix people who refuse to change. It is not your responsibility to endure relationships that drain your spirit. It is not your duty to explain yourself to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. Your priority must be your peace. And anything that disrupts that peace must be removed from your life. The mistake many people make is believing that walking away means giving up. Well, let me tell you something. Walking away does not mean you are weak. It does not mean you are bitter. It does not mean you are afraid. Walking away means you finally understand your worth. It means you have learned that your peace is more important than their approval. It means you have decided that your happiness is not something you are willing to negotiate. When you walk away from chaos, you walk toward clarity. When you let go of unnecessary burdens, you make space for true joy. And when you remove yourself from what does not honor you, you open the door for what does. You cannot receive what is meant for you while holding on to what is destroying you. And sometimes the greatest act of faith is to walk away, trusting that what is ahead is better than what you are leaving behind. This year, make a commitment to yourself. Protect your peace. Walk away from meaningless arguments. Walk away from people who drain your energy. Walk away from relationships that no longer align with your purpose. And walk away with dignity, knowing that your silence will speak louder than your words ever could. You owe it to yourself to be in an environment that nurtures you, not one that drains you. You deserve to be surrounded by people who celebrate you, not just tolerate you. And most importantly, you must remember that your peace is your responsibility, no one else's. So today, choose yourself, choose your well-being, choose your peace, and do not be afraid to walk away from anything that threatens it. Because the moment you do, you will discover a freedom you never knew existed. Life is too short to spend it in spaces where you are merely tolerated. You were not created to blend in, to shrink yourself, or to prove your worth to those who refuse to see it. The people you surround yourself with will either lift you higher or pull you down. They will either fuel your growth or drain your energy. And this year, you must make a decision to walk away from environments where you are only tolerated and step into spaces where you are truly celebrated. There is a difference between being accepted and being valued. Some people keep you around because they are used to you, not because they appreciate you. Some include you out of convenience, not out of genuine love. And some tolerate you because they benefit from your presence, but they do not truly honor you. But hear me today, you deserve better than that. You deserve to be in a place where your presence is not just noticed, but valued, where your voice is not just heard, but respected, where your gifts are not just acknowledged, but celebrated. Too many people spend years trying to fit into circles that do not appreciate them. They lower their standards, adjust their personalities, and compromise their values, all in an attempt to be accepted. But let me tell you something. Real connections do not require you to shrink yourself. The right people will recognize your worth without you having to prove it. The right people will celebrate you for who you are, not for what you can do for them. The right people will make you feel seen, heard, and valued without you having to fight for it. One of the greatest mistakes you can make is staying in an environment where you are not honored. Because over time, that environment will begin to shape how you see yourself. If you surround yourself with people who only tolerate you, you will start believing that tolerance is the best you can get. If you remain in spaces where you are overlooked, you will start questioning your own worth. And if you continue to invest in relationships where you are not truly valued, you will eventually lose sight of who you are meant to be. You must understand that the people in your life have an impact on your destiny. The voices you listen to, the company you keep, and the energy you allow into your space will either push you toward your purpose or pull you away from it. That is why you must be intentional about who you allow into your life. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone should be in your circle, and not everyone is meant to walk with you on your journey. The people you surround yourself with should inspire you. They should challenge you to grow. They should remind you of your value, not make you question it. If you have to fight to be respected, if you have to beg to be included, if you have to constantly prove your worth, you are in the wrong place. Because the right people will celebrate you without hesitation. They will encourage you without competition. They will uplift you without hidden agendas. This year, be intentional about your environment. Surround yourself with those who see your greatness, even when you do not see it yourself. Walk away from spaces where you are merely tolerated and step into rooms where you are celebrated. Because when you are in the right environment, you will thrive. When you are around the right people, you will flourish. And when you finally stop settling for tolerance, you will make room for the kind of love, respect, and appreciation that you truly deserve. So do not waste another moment in places that do not honor you. Walk with confidence, knowing that you are worthy of celebration, not just acceptance. And when you find those who truly value you, hold on to them, because those are the people who will help you become everything you were meant to be. As you move forward this year, remember this: your peace, your worth, and your purpose are too valuable to be compromised. Do not waste your energy proving yourself to those who refuse to see you. Do not chase after people who willingly ignore you. Do not hold on to what no longer serves you. Instead, walk away with grace, with wisdom, and with confidence. Because when you stop reacting, when you stop feeding what drains you, when you remove yourself from spaces where you are merely tolerated, you create room for what truly belongs in your life. This is your year to protect your peace, to honor your worth, and to choose yourself unapologetically. Let silence be your response to ignorance. Let wisdom guide your decisions. Let dignity define your walk. And most importantly, trust that what is meant for you will never require you to beg, chase, or compromise your value. Good luck on your journey ahead, and may you find the strength to walk away from what no longer aligns with your destiny. Thank you, and may this year bring you clarity, peace, and the right people who celebrate you for who you truly are.